Hello, my name is Elsie Godwin. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, that felt weird because I have not done this in over 1 year. If you check the last video on this channel, I think it was April 2022, but this time around I have to. And I'll be holding this phone and looking at it from time to time because I need to ensure that I get all I need to say out there, so I won't have to repeat this particular content again. It's a very touchy one for me, but I think it's very important for me to share, and this is why I am sharing. Okay, so one of the reasons I decided that I have to do this, even though I would have loved to just enjoy my privacy with my people or people that are just close to me, is because when I was going to go under the knife, which is going to have a surgery, I searched online. I mean, I'm a content person. I also do marketing, right? So it just made sense for me to want to find out what other people had gone through or how they were able to, what's the word now? To just cope and ensure that they are getting the right care, the things to do, things not to do. And I must say that I did not get a lot of resources like I would have wanted. I got a lot of content from people in, I think, the US, say more of Black Americans, sharing their journey and what they had to do. But I couldn't find something from a Nigerian, or maybe I didn't search well, so share with me if you find. I found one or two. I remember seeing the video Toke Makinwa shared after her surgery. This was what, maybe 5-6 years ago. And she pretty much just talked about what she went through after the surgery, and I don't think it was as in-depth as I would have loved. So when I finally did the surgery, I told myself I would definitely try to do a video. I'm not promising to answer everybody's question. I'm just going to share my own journey and hope that somebody somewhere out there would find this video very useful for them if they're also going to have a myomectomy. Taking it back to the beginning, when did I know that I had fibroid? This should be 2 years ago. You know, when you go for your checkup, speaking to a gynecologist, and they just casually drop it there that, oh, there's fibroid, but don't worry, it's very small, it's not big enough for you to worry. And then they advise you, oh, go and get married and have children, so that, I mean, it will be safer for you to just have your kids before it then becomes problematic and everything. And I'll always look at them and like, do they used to find man inside markets? I don't have, right? There's nothing I can do about it. I'm someone that never really worry about things that are beyond my control. I'm a very strong believer of God, so I just leave the things that are to God and do the ones that are my part, right? So that conversation, each time it comes up, I just really shrug it off and move on with my life. Until last year, I think this was September. Of course, as a woman, you're expecting your period, and then I get all the symptoms I'm supposed to get, PMS drama. I get really painful periods, right? So it started, and I thought, oh, my period is here. And then a drop came out. Usually I have heavy flows, right? And it came out and it wasn't heavy. And then it just was just tiny like that, tiny, tiny, tiny. And then I became worried, like, okay, so why is this the case? But interestingly, that bleeding became more, and then it never stopped for 3 months. So I can tell you that I bled for 3 months straight without a break. I remember, I think I'm going to mention this part because I remember there was a Saturday that I had 3 events back to back where I was speaking, 1 on the island, 2 on the mainland. Interestingly, I wore white, or should I say off-white, to those events. I will probably add the picture somewhere so people can see what I'm talking about. For every time I got to any of the events, the first one was at Landmark, I go into the restroom first. From the restroom, I'm getting on stage to speak, and then after speaking, I'm rushing back to the restroom and then going into my car to head to the next one. That was what it was. Like, a lot of people felt, oh, why is she not staying? Like, she's done with the event, she's not staying to mingle. But I just couldn't, because I couldn't sit for long. And I think during the bleeding, it sort of became more when it was supposed to be the time for my period. I don't know if that makes sense. But it was just that time and it was really heavy, right? So from Landmark, I headed down to Ikeja. I had brunch, and then after that, I went to the next event. After the next event, they were like, oh, in fact, I think I sat for 15 minutes. I got up, and thankfully, I feel like there was just a spirit that was commanding me. Because if I did not stand up the time that I did and walked into the restroom, I'm definitely going to be turning red from off-white, right? And then from there, I went to the last one, which was Bodek's social media hangout at Radisson Blu Ikeja, yeah. And I walked in, it wasn't my turn to speak, you know, and for the life of me, I thought, oh, I was late already, it should be time for my own session. I just kept on going to the restroom and coming back, and I was supposed to sit in front. At some point, I had to go back to sit to stand with a friend, and I kept on going to the restroom. I just told them, you know what, I'm on my period, right? Of course, everybody will understand, but I couldn't tell anyone that this was what I was battling at the time, right? So that's just to give you a background of what my life became, because I just couldn't go out for going out sake. It can be very tiny today, and then the next day it's just coming in clots of blood, right? And I started using herbs. I reached out to my friend. He recommended somebody that does herbs. They sent me gallons of herbs, very bitter. I was drinking everything and hoping that this would help. But unfortunately, in my case, it did not help. I'm saying in my case because I know people who have used the herbal treatment and it worked for them. So I'm not a doctor. I don't know what is right or what is wrong. All I'm sharing is my experience and how my journey went, right? So I think it was then middle of November, I realized that I couldn't just go on this way, because if it was not symptomatic, then that's fine. I mean, we'll just carry on until maybe I get to the point where I have to go on a fertility journey or something. But this was then problematic. It became painful. It was also pressing on my bladder. I sort of found out this after, I think it was after the MRI that I did, that I didn't realize that it was also the reason why I was having frequent urination. So it was more like urination. So you go in, you ease yourself. In the next 5 minutes, you realize that I have to go back to the restroom, you know. So those are the things I was battling with, and until I realized that, you know what, I know what this thing is. I need to go and get myself checked and then help myself get better. Then the journey to looking for a doctor started. Because the first doctor I had, or the first gynecologist I was relating with at a certain hospital in VI, suddenly one time told me, oh, she had resigned. I'm like, okay. And you know how it is with us women and your gynecologists. It's just like your bestie. You don't want to change the person, because going to somebody else means that you have to start sharing your history from the beginning, and then they begin to understand and then see, oh, is this what is happening? It's just better to have one person that you understand that this is a specialist in this field, and you don't have to relive the journey of sharing all over again, right? So I started reaching out to my friends. Shout out to VN007. I reached out to her, and she was also open enough to let me know that, oh, she has gone through this journey. She shared the contact of her doctor. I reached out to a few other people. I was getting recommendations, because in this case, I knew before the doctor told me that I was going to have surgery. I sort of knew that that was what it was going to be, right? So I was already thinking that if I'm going in to see a gynecologist, it has to be someone that I know that if he then confirms that I have to have a surgery, then I have to have faith in this person to be able to conduct the surgery. So, I mean, I shopped around, talked to people, sent me numbers, until my cousin sent me a number of her friends. She said, oh, my friend just did this procedure a few weeks ago, and she's fine, so I'll send you the contact. I'll talk to her to send you the contact of the doctor. And that was how the doctor's details were shared to me. And I think one of the reasons I decided to go ahead with this particular doctor is because the lady who recommended me said her own surgery wasn't just fibroid removal. She also had to do uterine reconstruction and removal of cysts. So I felt, okay, that's a bit more complicated than just fibroid. So if this person could take care of you and you're fine, then I want to believe that with God, he should be able to take care of me I'll be fine. So I reached out to the doctor, booked an appointment. Of course, he did his checks and told me that, of course, I have fibroid, and since it's already symptomatic, that the best bet is just to have a surgery and remove it. But first, I need to go for an MRI. Okay, so this is the point where I have to say that our, is it health care plan now, what do I call it, HMO people, they need to fear God and have packages that actually work for women, because I think that would be a conversation for another episode. However, I went for my MRI at Igbobi. There is a place there, and the doctor insisted that I had to get an MRI because he said he needed to know the position of the fibroid so that he can be sure of the kind of myomectomy I'll be getting. Also, he needed to know the position, which would then determine if I'll be having I don't know how to call the medical jargons now, but one is myomectomy, which is normal one, that's just removing the fibroid, and the other one is having to remove the fibroid and the uterus completely. But thankfully, after the MRI, I just had to remove the fibroid, so don't worry, my womb is still there, I can have it. Anyway, so I came back with the results, and he booked me for an operation. Now, interestingly, is as at the beginning of November, I did not know that I was going to have a surgery in December. I was still thinking of dirty December. My bleeding, I thought this year I just really wanted to have fun. I had events planned, end of the year gala and everything. I just wanted to really be out there this December, unlike other December that I would typically just stay in the house because I don't like traffic. I don't like stress. Dirty December, people should come and go. I will consider our enjoyment in Lagos, right? But God had other plans. The surgery was booked and I was scheduled for December, I think 12th now, yeah. So the next thing I'll talk about is pre-surgery preparation. I was scared, I cannot lie. I had never done, in fact, I don't think I've ever done any major medical procedure in my life. I know I used to be very sick as a child, so yes, I had frequent hospital visits, but nothing more than drip, injection, medication, you go home, then you come back again, you repeat. It had never been more than that, right? And it still never made me like anything hospital, right? So I don't know if there's anyone who is comfortable with taking medication. I will still close even my supplements that I take, it's not bitter, it's just, but I'll still feel like, oh God, I have to take this, right? That's the relationship I have with medication. So having to hear that I'm going to have a surgery, and this is not that I want to give birth or a cesarean section, right? So this is a case of you having to go through a cesarean section, but there is no baby to show for the drama that you have gone through, right? And I was scared, I was really scared. So I started researching, like I said earlier. I reached out to people who had done this before. I even spoke to Tosin, she has then created a community for people who are going through fibroid, PCOS, and the related issues. So if you're looking for a community that can help, I suggest you reach out to her. Yeah, so I spoke to the lady who also referred me to my doctor. I did a lot of talking because I just really needed to know, what do I expect, how is it going to be? And one thing I know that everyone kept on saying was that I need to think about my aftercare because I'm going to need a lot of help, right? And I was just wondering, Shebi is hospital. Shebi, once I'm done, I'll just stay in my house. They kept saying, you will need help. Like, you will need help. Like, that's one thing they kept repeating. And maybe also because I know that I try to do a lot of things by myself, right? So it was difficult for me to accept that I would have to rely on people a lot for at least 2 to 3 weeks before I can try to do things myself, right? So the pre-surgery was me really thinking, and also my doctor, this is a very important drama that I went through. My doctor needed to make sure that I went through something he can call a period, because I told him, yes, I've been bleeding for, as at that time it was 3 months plus, but he insisted that he needed to induce a period before we can do surgery. So he prescribed, I think it is progesterone, and I took it. When I did, I thought it was just going to be normal something. I took this thing on a, I can't remember now, I think I took it on a, because he said once I take the injection, it's going to induce my period in less than 48 hours. But that did not happen. What happened was that the bleeding stopped. And then I called the doctor, I said, if there was a medication to stop my bleeding, why didn't you just give me this one before? Why am I going for surgery? I said, calm down, that shouldn't worry. And I think it was after 5 days, on a Thursday, I can remember clearly, I saw blood. It was coming out small. Okay. On Friday, it became a tap. Now, don't forget that I said I usually have heavy periods, so I'm not someone that is not comfortable with heavy periods, right? But this one, it was so scary that I had to call him back, and he prescribed another medication, I can't remember now, to reduce the blood. But even with that, I don't know how to explain it. I couldn't sit down and stand up and just stand up. No. Once I'm standing up, I'm going to the restroom to go and sit down there for at least 1 hour. That's what I was going through. Like, if I have to measure the number of blood, the amount of blood that came out of me that period, just that weekend, it will feel at least 5 liters. But this is not exaggeration. I was scared. At some point, he was suggesting I come back to the hospital for me to be admitted because it became worse on Sunday. And I thought, okay, let's just watch it and see what happens, because I was going to check into the hospital on Monday anyway. I think Monday was the 11th. Of course, the procedure is you have to go in a day before the surgery, you know. So it was scary. It was blood gushing in water and in clots. And I went through that for about 4 days before I went to the hospital. And he was saying that they can't even operate until that blood reduces, right? So the prayer was then, please, this blood has to stop, right? So when I went back to the hospital, they have to check your vitals to be sure that you can do the operation. And of course, they checked my blood counts, and my blood count was 22, right? So everybody was shocked because I drove myself to the hospital. My friends came to meet me at the hospital. Everybody was just thankful because I spoke to my doctor friend. Shout out to Dr. Wande. She's in the UK right now, and she was pretty much my second doctor. Anything the doctor says, I'm speaking to her. She was pretty much on call with me to hold my hand virtually and just help me go through the process. When I told her my blood count was 22, she was screaming. She said that she, as a doctor, once her blood count gets to 30, she's fainting, that there's no conversation around it, that they have to rush her to the hospital, right? So for me to still have a blood count of 22 and be able to drive myself to the hospital, checking that I should just be thankful God is involved, you know. And it meant that I had to go through a blood transfusion before I can have a surgery. So that journey started. They had to look for my blood and took 2 pints of blood. The good thing is at least my body did not reject the blood at that time. I said at that time because there was another post-surgery drama. So I went through the blood transfusion, and then it meant that the surgery had to be moved to the 14th. I had the surgery on the 14th of December in the morning, and it was an experience. I'm sure, we'll add some of the footages for you to see what it looked like, but this was the epidural journey. The anesthetist came in. Shout out to my anesthetist. I can't remember her name because at that point I wasn't even trying to be friendly with anyone. She was a comfort in the theater. I wasn't sleeping. I was awake all through. I wasn't feeling anything, of course. After the whole epidural process, my legs were dead. I couldn't feel any pain anywhere. I was just there. But where it felt like I felt a lot of tugging was when they wanted to close me up. The surgery lasted about 2 hours. When they wanted to close me up, that was when, because even while they were cutting me open, the doctor and his assistant surgeon, if that's what they're supposed to be called, was already saying, oh, you exercise, right? I said yes. There was a look, right? And apparently, in this life, everything has its advantage and its disadvantages, right? So when they were going to close me up, that was when the disadvantage of my very healthy lifestyle came to fore. It meant that it was very difficult for doctors to be able to pull my skin back and stitch me. So at that point, I could feel, you know, when they're pulling something and you're feeling everything inside you, not pain, but all the tugging. At some points, because the anesthetist had already told me that if I was feeling anything that is uncomfortable, I should let her know. I couldn't breathe properly at that point, and she had to put took an injection, stabbed it into my body, and then I started coming down, telling me look left, look right. I was also told not to raise my head, because if I had done that, I would have a very terrible headache or migraine after some period of time because of the connection of the epidural. You know, there was a lot of medical warnings before the surgery. And they talked and finally closed me up. After the surgery, I was asking the doctor, so exercise now is a problem. I mean, I'm not saying don't exercise, but I mean, as a woman, especially because this is different from a cesarean section. A cesarean section, your body is prepared for this, right? You were pregnant for 9 months. The body has been going through that journey up until that point and ready to bring out a baby. But this one, the body was not expecting anything. The body is normal and kicking, and then there's a cutting open and having to close. So I think that was one of the reasons my pain was a bit, maybe much more than anybody else's pain, because of the muscles that I had from exercises and everything. That happened, and we were done with the surgery. I rested. They removed the, what they call it, the thing for urination. They removed all that. I had my first water, and then after that, I was able to then start eating normal. But that pain in this life, God, I never knew that there could be a pain as such as that, right? I think I wasn't angry. I don't know how to describe how I felt, but I feel like people weren't totally honest with me about the pain. So I didn't expect it, right? I knew that I would be in some pain, but it was down a lot. I felt, okay, so what is happening? Like, it was crazy. Like, some of the pain medications that I was given, at least in the hospital, was so strong that you would feel like you've taken a drug. Like, when they put it into you, you're ready, your eyes turn, you're on another level, and you just want to just lie down and stay there, right? When it was then time for them to consider discharging me, they had to check my vitals to be sure that I'm doing well. After checking my vitals again, they realized that my blood count was still 26. So, I mean, the normal or fair one is to at least push me to 30, and then I can go home, right? So the doctors then tried to give me another blood. We started the blood transfusion. Before they started, they checked my vitals. My blood pressure was good. They started, and then I was feeling very uncomfortable. My breathing wasn't as should be. And one thing I would say to everyone is, when you're in the hospital, you and your doctor should be the ones taking care of you. You have to listen to your body, because you know how you feel. You know when things are normal and when things are not normal. So you should be able to insist and say, no, this is not right. I'm not feeling, I don't think this is how I should feel. Also, because I had taken a transfusion before the surgery, like I said, how I started feeling with this one was just not it. At first I thought, oh, is this because of the surgery I just finished and everything? But I also knew it wasn't right. So I called the nurses, told them I wasn't feeling very well, and they said, oh, no, it's okay. And they left. About 5–10 minutes again, I just wasn't feeling comfortable. I was feeling very tired. My breathing wasn't comfortable. I had to call them again. Please, I am not feeling well since you started giving me this blood. And then they brought the vital machine again, and they started checking. Before I started the blood transfusion, my blood pressure, like I said, was normal, 130/70, which of course was normal. And when they then finally listened to me, brought the vitals to check and did it, it was already about 160, 170 over. I can't remember what it was over anymore, and that was way high, right? Because, like I said, I was a sick child, right, growing up. And all through the time where maybe I've ever spent time in the hospital, maybe admitted for malaria, my vitals always comes out normal, right? So you then telling me in the space of 1 hour my blood pressure had gone to saying I have high blood pressure, then something must be wrong. So they immediately stopped the blood transfusion. Of course, the doctor came in and gave me some injections to stabilize my pressure and everything. And after they did what they did, they gave me an injection, gave me something else. After about 30 minutes, they checked again and the blood pressure had then come down. They then wanted to continue giving me this blood. My sister no, that I can't take that. Remember I talked about my friend in the UK. I called her immediately to tell her what happened. And then she said the normal procedure has to be that that blood should be taken back to the lab to do another cross-matching to find out why that they should not dare try to give me that blood again. So of course, after listening to her, I insisted that I'm not interested in taking any other blood transfusion. That was when I told them, is it ugu? I will go home, I will eat vegetable. I mean, I've done the major thing, which is a surgery, right? And God, I did not die. He's now collecting blood. No, we'll know how to produce this blood. So when I left the hospital, it meant that I was very particular about the things that I was eating, from edikaikon to afang to a lot of what they call it now, smoothies and juice, all freshly made. I had to ensure that those were the things that I was taking. I'm still very particular about what I take inside, because for everything for me, including skin and all, I feel like it starts from inside. So now knowing that I have to increase my blood, right, I then take a lot more of that. But I mean, I need to say that part because it's important. Like I said, when you go to the hospital, whatever the case may be, you and your doctor are very responsible for what happens to you. You have to, because they are not in your body, they don't know how you feel. They just believe that what they're doing is the right thing until you're able to voice out. So imagine I did not voice out. I don't know what could have happened, but yeah. So that was the blood journey after the surgery. I stayed in the hospital for 2 nights after the surgery, and then I left. The drive to the house was something else because I don't know, I think I wasn't thinking properly because I had surgery, right? But if I was thinking properly, I would have insisted that my commute would have been probably in an SUV that won't be so stressful. But the bad roads in Lagos again, the traffic and everything was really uncomfortable. Home, and that was when I realized that yes, the aftercare they were talking about is the real aftercare, because you cannot do anything for yourself. I couldn't get out of the bed myself. I'm not allowed to lift anything. Even, okay, so now I'm past 6 weeks. You'll probably be watching this video when I'm on 7 or 8 weeks, but as at the time of recording this video, 6 weeks, 4 days, yeah. And yes, I can do certain things, I can lift certain things now, but I still can't do strenuous things. I pace myself when I'm doing a lot of things. I can't drive for so long. It has to be like breaks so that I can rest, right? But I think that my healing journey has been amazing, especially with incision. And also one of the things that I know that my support system, shout out to them, were able to do for me is treat me from a place of understanding, because my friend for a very long time, Banke, was with me. She had gone to cesarean section having her child. Tonya was with me. She had also had a fibroid process, like I think 5 years ago. They understood what was going on. It was easy for them to take care of me from a place of being empathetic instead of just thinking, okay, why is she like this? In fact, at some points, they felt like I was handling the pain even way better than they expected. One thing about the support system I had was understanding that they had and the support that came with it. And maybe speaking more about the support system, for those who don't know, I'm an orphan, right? So I tend to do things by myself. I don't like to disturb people, I don't like to stress people, but that period I didn't just need people that just wanted to be there for marking register. I needed people that could really help me do everything, from having my bath to making my food to just understanding the kind of pain that I'm going through. You know, it was a hard period, right? And I think I started getting better at the first week mark. Yeah, I started getting better at the first week mark in terms of being able to even attempt to come out of the bed myself, being able to try to bathe myself. And in my house, I have like a bathtub, so I can just walk in and stand. I have to climb into my tub to be able to have my bath, right? So it was, like I said, I've never felt that kind of pain. I never envisaged it. While I was also doing, even on my sick bed, I was watching. If I open my YouTube, you'll be seeing a lot of myomectomy videos, because I had watched a lot of content that the algorithm just sent me any content on fibroid and things that has to do with it. So it was hard. It was really hard, and you cannot take that support for granted. Also, when choosing your doctor, one of the things you should think about is the pain management. It's not about the money you pay, because I can tell you, a friend of mine also went through this journey. I did mine on the 14th. I think she did hers on the 18th, if I'm not mistaken. And the hospital I used and the doctor I used, I paid ×2 of what she had to pay. But I can tell you that pain management was way better than mine. She stayed about, I think she stayed 4 nights in the hospital. The time that she was leaving the hospital, she was way stronger than I was when I left the hospital, right? So one of the things you also want to think about is the pain management of the hospital that would be going through your procedure, beyond knowing what they're doing. But one thing I'm going to give my doctors props for, and by the way, is Dr. Emeka Igbodike. He was very particular about procedure to ensure, even when I thought, oh, because I was timing myself and also thinking about being able to be done with the surgery before Christmas, so that those that are going to stay with me can go back to their family for Christmas. He was very particular about, oh no, we have to check your blood count, the bleeding has to stop, it's safety first before anything. I can't just go in and operate you. You know, even when everything had to be rescheduled, the anesthetics had to be, everybody had to be rescheduled, he just said, be patient and just get this done, right? So those are the kind of things you should look out for pretty much at the end of the day. Yeah, so my incision care, because I had people who already understood the bank was, she sort of introduced the using hot water to massage the incision. So we started doing that. I think it was on the 5th day post-surgery, we started doing the hot water. And I think it also helped my healing, my incision, the outer really well. When I went back to the doctor for the post-surgery appointment, he looked at it once and like, oh, it's properly healed, it's fine, you get better. Just understand that inside is not healed yet, the outside looks good, but you know, so I think that hot water procedure helped me with my incision healing. We'll add a video of what the incision looked like at the beginning, but I'm not sure I'll be showing you what it looks like now. My body's way better, right? Also, the bloating, I'm still bloated. I'm not completely out of the shower. But what I know is just keep eating well, just eat well, and ensure you take a lot of fluid. Rest, you just have to rest. There is no way you're going to get better at the snap of a finger. It's a journey. And like my doctor had already told me, I have to take everything easy for at least 3 months. Right now, I'm on walking to 7th week, right? But I still have 3 months to be able to say, okay, I'm a bit stronger. Also, I can't start my exercises till maybe 6 months. But right now, I do a lot of walks. Also, while you are recovering, you have to, I know you feel a little you want to be at a place, but you have to force yourself to get up and walk around. It's very important. 5 minutes a day makes the difference. Also for myself that was very active exercise-wise, the female doctor, Dr. Mandy, she reiterated that I especially had to walk around to avoid, I think they called it embolism. Please, if I'm murdering the name, I'm not a doctor. To avoid blood clots, and then which can also lead to death. So you have to walk around and ensure that your muscles are getting the engagement they need. So even if it's 5 minutes a day, it's very important. You can then increase it to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and just ensure that you're moving around. Right now, I'm doing 30 minutes a day workout, like intentional workout every evening, 7 o'clock, I walk around my estate. And that's me also just introducing myself to exercising back. So doing my walks, till maybe 6 months when I can go back to the gym. I think one other thing I can add to my routine before that 6 months mark will be swimming. I'm not very good at swimming, I'm still learning, so I probably will go back to my swimming lessons. Another thing is doing yoga. Yeah, so I can maybe also think of joining a yoga class and do the very not so hectic kind of yoga. But yeah, I mean, it's been a journey for me. When I think about it again, I still get shivers all over my body because I tell you that it is painful, but it's something you will be able to bear, you'll be fine. Also, when the medication that was given to me from the hospital was done, I was tempted to go and get more, like more ibuprofen, more pain medication, but I had to hold myself back because I thought I'd get to a point where I'm sort of addicted to pain medication. So once the medication that was given to me from the hospital was done, I stopped all medication and just also something I did that helped me heal is taking warm water. Like not hot, warm water. I started using kettle and flask that holds water to just store my water and ensure that I'm taking warm water. I haven't started taking cold water. I take warm water. For alcohol, I mean, I'm cleared to be able to take alcohol, but I have not started. I think I'm also right. But I mean, it's just overall I feel better. Right now I'm not bleeding anymore. Like, in fact, it feels surreal because it's more like, so I can really stay without of, oh, am I stained, right? So just to reiterate, I had to do the surgery was the bleeding. I bled straight for 3 months and I knew that I needed to get help. I was also feeling pain on my abdomen, and when the MRI scan came out and the result, it was clear that was resting on my bladder, so that was why I was having the complete urination. So pretty much all that is done now and dusted. I'm fine. They say I should go and find a husband still. So if you also have a husband for me, let me know. But pretty much I'm just thankful for life, to be honest. After the surgery, of people who had done the same surgery and the story didn't go as mine, right? So I'm just so thankful to God for, I think I'm calling it a second chance, to be honest, because my birthday is coming, 35th, and I just feel like I just want to enjoy life and be happy. I know people will say you're already enjoying life, but people don't know what happens behind the scenes. So I want to be more intentional in just having fun, being impactful, doing my work, being a good person, and just living life as it is. Again, I'm not a professional, but like I mentioned, there is someone who has created a community. If you want to check out, if you feel like you need a community to go through your journey, please reach out to Olori Supergirl on Instagram. I think the page is called Healthy Living with Tosin, and get all the help you can. I can respond to the questions that I can respond to on via DM if you follow me on my socials. I would try, because again, because I've gone through it, when I hear someone is going to have a surgery now, it's really your before you get into the theater, right? So just ensure that you have the right medical personnel around you, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine by God's grace. So yes, that's my myomectomy story. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I probably will not talk about this again, except it's absolutely necessary, but this is what it was for me, and I can only just be thankful.